It was a few weeks ago that the hay bales started creeping slowly away from the house. Every morning when I woke up, each had moved a few hundred feet away from where it was before. I assumed that it was pranksters with nothing better to do, so I ignore it. Within a few days, though, the bales began to approach the boundaries of the farm. I was tired of the whole game by then and decided to move them back. It took a tedious hour to bring them all the way back from where they were over near the house again. And by that time I was done, I was ready to snap the neck of whatever little persistent was deciding to screw with me. The next morning, I found each and one of the horses messily decapitated. The smell of what woke me up, each one slumped over against the side of its stall, where there were no signs of the heads. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the mess and burying the remains. It was only when I had done and I had noticed the bales all have hay had turned into their possessions from the day before. Scattered around far out to the fields, this time I left them where they were. That night I sat on my porch with my shotgun in hand and a pot of coffee on the table beside me. I sat for hours, straining my eyes into the fields to catch up the glimpse to who was moving the hay bales. Finally, I was beginning to nod off. I would have, but just as my eyes began to close, I heard a clamor and rustling of trees from the nearby woods. I leaned forward and my heart ached, racing with excitement. I was going to catch that bastard. I fumbled on with my shotgun and fidgeted in my seat, waiting anxiously for whoever it was to get close enough to an ambush. It was when the thing got close enough for me to make out its silhouette in the dark, that I was frozen still. The thing that creeped me in the fields was from the nearby woods that didn't seem to notice me sitting there. It stalked, hunched, and deliberate through the field with the posture of a tiptoeing thief. If not for the fact that it might have been towered over 10 feet tall, even if its crouched position, it might have still seemed almost frail. The thinness of its arms and legs and the emaciated, caved-in quality of its chest reminded me of a starving animal. Still, this thing was undeniably strong, and I watched it hoist each bale up into the arms with ease, and was setting it down carefully while away, taking only a few strides to cover the distance. I watched it work, moving each bale thoughtfully. Every once in a while, it would straighten up to look around at the other bale's positions in the field, before adjusting to the one that was working on to ever so slightly. Before it left, it looked towards the house. I felt its eyes sweep over in the dark, but whatever it saw me or not, I couldn't tell. When it slowly turned silently, it crept back the way it came, disappearing into the dark of the woods. It took me an hour before I had the courage to move at all. I went inside after a while, but didn't sleep that night. It was only when the sun rose and I dared to step off my porch into the fields. The hay bales where it had left them. Strangely, it didn't move them as far as it had during the previous days. They were approaching something invisible in the fields. As I looked at them, I realized that they have seemed to be making or marking some line. Indeed, as I walked around the house, I saw the distant circle that had formed with me in the center. At first I thought the bales were just being haphazardly moved away from the house. But now that I could see that instead of being moved towards some boundary, the thing was sending me a message, I slept uneasily that night, and only because I was exhausted. The next morning, the bales hadn't moved at all. They didn't move at all for the rest of the week. In fact, they were finally there where the thing wanted them. I made myself sick by trying to interfere with them. Why would this thing extend so much energy moving hay bales and threaten me with such violence should I try to interfere? Killing my horses was just that? A threat? An intelligent threat? At that, I knew that it would scare me, and I knew that I would understand the implications. The sound of the automobile working its way along the road to my farm one morning gave me a little rush of excitement. I'd been planning to abandon the farm since the day I saw the thing, but I couldn't hope but leave on foot without risking treating me like my horses. But if I could get in the car with whoever was coming my way, I might be able just to escape before it could stop me. I didn't know or care who it was. I decided that moment they stopped the car that I would jump into the passenger seat and tell them to get the hell out of there. I didn't get the chance. The car worked its way slowly along the road, trundling across the uneven ground. It urged it silently to a hurry. When it passed by the two bales placed on either side of the road, that I began to hear a booming clatter from the woods. That thing burst suddenly from between the trees, sprinkling on all fours of its tremble, gangly limbs towards the car. Within a few seconds it was there, pouncing on the automobile like a predatory cat. Within moments it was picking and peeling the vehicle's steel frame apart, working to try to get at the driver. The man, whoever it was, screamed with all the while. I could hear him even over the crunching of metal and the shattering of glass. It was only that thing crushed him carelessly in its hand that the screaming stopped. I tossed him away and straightened up to look at me once again. In the sunlight I could see the inhumanity of it. It composed entirely of something awful and alive which was slashed together in messy semblance of a human form. Whatever it was made of looked so polished and hard, that if it weren't for the minute rivering of the stuff, I'd think that it might have been granting. The thing then retreated back into the woods, and I was left to my shock. My eyes wandered to where the car sat, the engine still sputtering between two hay bales. Suddenly I understood. The message was clear. I am the saint's captive, and I am not allowed visitors. Nothing many cross the borders as it's set. I am trapped here. That thing still stalks in the fields, and demands nothing except that I will never leave. Still, I don't know if I can handle that thing being this canary, but thinking about it hard for the last few days, since I saw it crush that man's chest and silence him before he could finish his scream. If I crossed the hay bale border, it probably would do the same. I'd smash my skull before I could put my hands up to protect myself. I'd have to go get a new pet. It'd probably keep looking until it finds someone who could stand, and knowing that it will just be waiting just outside, watching at all hours with its shiny insect eyes. I have been thinking hard for the past few days, and I might just make a run for it. And that, my little pretties, was The Thing That Stalked the Fields, written by David Feuling, a creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story? Pretty good pasta, actually. Like, I'm not gonna deny this right now. I actually really like this creepypasta. Especially with the fact that, this is honestly about a monster. I'm assuming it's a skinwalker, maybe a wendigo or whatever. But whatever the creature is in this story, just killing everything that comes across this person's path or something, like the protagonist's path. I mean, this was something that I remember, hearing a few narrations of this story. Now, yeah, I'm going to be completely honest when I see this, is that I remember Mr. Creepypasta actually narrated this story as well as Creepypasta. And a few other people I do remember they have narrated this story. But the first person I've actually heard of this story was from Mr. Creepypasta, who narrated this one about 10 years ago. It's a well made story, it's pretty good. And I do really like it. However, we don't really get an pretty much too much description of what this creature really was. I mean, it's enough to, create a real sense of what being trapped is like and about what the protagonist is, surrounded by. So, yeah, to be completely honest, I mean, I could definitely say that it's a really good storyline for what this story really has to offer. And I mean, there's a lot of comments in this story that I got it from. I think but to consider the ending about it, I really wish that there was probably a part two of this story that, could help out, explain if the protagonist survived or not. But I'm assuming that the author survived. Well, not author, but the protagonist survived. But yeah, it's most likely that it's a Wendigo or a Skinwalker. But some people say that it could be the Rake, which I remember reading that story, sometime last year, but yeah, I actually really enjoyed how well made this story really is, especially with how well it was written. Now, this is on the Creepypasta Wiki, like I said before. If you guys want to check it out, feel free to check it out, and I recommend you guys, check out this story. You will not be disappointed, as this story actually was well done and made. Now, I do wish there was a part two of this story because that would definitely really help. But yet again, I'm going to say right now that this story, apparently the protagonists react more to the movement of the hay bales than the sudden decapitation of every single horse they had. I mean, that could be why, but I mean, it's still a pretty good story. But I will have to say that, it's a well made story. I definitely really like it. I remember Mr. Creepypasta narrated this story and Christmas Pasta narrated it. And yeah, it's worth the read. Go ahead and check this story out. You will not be disappointed. And yeah, I mean, to the author of the story, great job with this story. And I have to say right now that this actually, I wish there was a part two of this story because that would honestly help out a lot more if there was a part two. Because if there was a part two, that would definitely help out with the story a lot better. But it would also definitely provide pretty good context as to, you know, how what would have happened to the protagonist if they try to escape or something. But anyways, like I'm gonna say before, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story is a 10 out of 10. Pretty good story, really good, well made. This honestly, I really wish there was a part 2 of this story because this would help out a lot more. But with to be honest, I really do like it. It's a great story, well made, and I honestly recommend you guys give it a shot if you haven't. So, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're new to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.